So I want to start by recapping the question that was posed from last week: is Manannán a trickster? So as we've seen, Manannán, he's nothing if not diverse. And yet, if we look at him in many stories and other cultural settings, we do begin to see a somewhat consistent picture. So Manannán's associated with the sea, with the other world, with magic, with friendship, good advice, good judgment. Sometimes he uses magic to create false impressions, not only in the O'Donnell's Cairn stories, but in other stories where he uses disguise or invisibility. So some of his magical workings could definitely be classed as tricks. But is that enough to call him a trickster when he also possesses such a rich and generally positive set of other traits? If you like my videos, please share them, comment, or give them a thumbs up. There's more free content on my Patreon page and on my website. If you're feeling spontaneous, you could buy me a cuppa on Ko-fi right now. All the links are below this video. So just like creating a profile of a human individual, we encounter some troubling contradictions and out-of-character moments. We don't have to dismiss those, but we might question why they happen or even whether they're in some way untrue. So concrete answers probably aren't forthcoming in this case. We have to rely on our own wisdom and our own judgment to make that call. And I'm not an expert at all in comparative mythology. But when making the kind of generalizations that comparative mythology has to make in order to operate, it seems to me that tricksters are frequently self-serving. They're agents of chaos or discord, and they don't consider the full consequences of their actions. You might say they're more clever than wise. Some of them are even malevolent in some cultures. Occasionally, Manannán fulfills some of these criteria, but not usually. So that's one part of my answer. The other part is simply whether there's any value in classifying deities and other mythological characters in such a kind of taxonomic way. Does it increase our understanding of an individual myth or a specific culture, or does the jargon just make us look smart? I'm not saying that comparisons are bad. I think we can learn a lot from comparisons, but I'm not sure that we really learn as much from classification. I think classification at its worst, it can make everything seem a lot easier than it is. People like it because they're either looking for systems or they're looking for common ground. But I think it can be a substitute for real kind of inquiry and understanding. By the time you do it right, classification, putting myths or mythological characters from different cultures into categories, it requires so many qualifications, exceptions, footnotes to deal with the differences that I think it quickly becomes nonsense. That's my opinion about the whole question of, is Manannán a trickster? I think there's a bit too much kind of amateur literary analysis sometimes of that kind applied to mythology by neo-pagans. I'm not sure it's that useful in academia either sometimes, because unless the term is quite specific, does anybody know what you're talking about? I think that hopefully the difference is that in academia, people realize that jargon like this is filled with exceptions and qualifications, but often lay people don't think like that. They just think, I've got my label, I know what this is, and they don't go any deeper.